That's so weird.
All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Alisha Braché from Cosmic Gateway, and I am so delighted to bring on my next guest. I am here with Alexis from Ascension Diaries. She has been a true inspiration for my work and the whole collective who follow the Schumann resonance. So, just to give a little bit of an intro and a backstory to how I came across you and how we connected many years ago. Feels like a lifetime, but it was only, a handful of years ago.
I know. Yeah, we've been busy.
We've been busy. So, I think it was around 2017. Somehow I came across the Schumann resonance, and I realized how it was impacting my experience in various different ways, and I had to understand it and research it a little bit more. And that was when I came across Alexis. So back then, I think you were under a different name then. I'm just, what was, I'm just trying to
It
think.
used right at the beginning, it was Schumann Diaries, and then I changed it to Ascension Diaries because it was a broader term of my to describe my diary of ascending in consciousness and awareness of the world around me. So
Thank you.
I
Thank
didn't want to give Schumann too much credit because
you.
I've recently learned some sketchy things about Schumann's past and, where he was from and where he was transported. And, the scientists around World War II between certain countries just kind of doing a lot of this. And I don't even know what the truth is, but I thought that was funny. So I also say earth resonance now because I don't want to give too much to a random guy. I don't know his past is good, but I feel this draw to like defend his honor as well. So maybe I used to know him.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I know that what you're going to bring today in this conversation and this presentation is literally going to blow my mind. So you've already started. So I hope that everyone enjoys this. And of course, we connected back then and you were able to help me understand a little bit. And then I started following your work. And this is from my perspective. I may be wrong, correct me, call me out. But back then, you were the only person that at least I was aware of that was reporting on it. So, now, fast forward many years later, it's kind of a much more widely known thing that people check on daily. And of course, on Cosmic Gateway, I often sort of give my updates, which is more based around my own intuitive, experiential observations, but not so much the science behind it. And I don't know a whole lot. And I'm the first to say that, and a lot of people contact me and ask me, what's this? And I'm like, go ask Alexis, go to Ascension Diaries. I am not qualified to speak on that part. So one of the many reasons why I wanted to bring you on today, and I'm sure that the information that you'll go over will be a reference point that I'll refer many, many people back to in years to come. So welcome, Alexis. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really going to enjoy this. And I know we've got time, so we can just start from the beginning and flow through wherever we want to go. But I thought maybe to start off, if you can share a little bit of who you are and your background and how you came into, um, you know, sharing on first Schumann Diaries and now the Ascension Diaries, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I'd love to and kind of introduce myself if you've not met me before. And thank you again. Alicia has been a person in my life since really much at the beginning, but when I started doing public research about this, has been a supportive sister in this process. And I love reading her interpretations about the Schumann resonances and the energies and the timing of it all as well, because it gives me a really good rounded feedback. I get a lot of really great feedback from other people, and I'm grateful that people have taken on a similar style of reflecting based off of this space weather data, reflecting their own experiences and their intuitive hits as well, and certain magical things that are all kind of synchronistically lining up with these specific energy impulses and the amplified field of Earth. And that study has been so, I would say it's been giving me a lot of wonderful feedback.
Mm.
That's weird. My phone made a sound, but it should not have at all. That is so strange. Well, good synchro. I'm just gonna turn it off. Um, so with the when you're mentioning that you send people my direction for the scientific side of it, I think it is kind of funny because I basically tossed my information out there and this conversation out there because I realized that I was lacking a major amount of the scientific understanding of what the Schumann resonance was, of what even how solar wind can impact us, about the geomagnetics of our Earth, and all of that were questions that I was having too when I first learned about this topic, which I would say happened right around like pretty quickly after I started publicly posting about it and researching it. I think I maybe learned about it in like late or mid 2016. And it was just a couple years after I had graduated university for psychology. And so when I learned about it, which I'm pretty sure I heard about it first from potentially Dr. Joe Dispenza, who does a lot of work with brainwave training and liberating yourself from your mind and like getting yourself all figured out with your frequencies and stuff. So really was excited to hear that from him. And I also heard some of it from, I'm pretty sure, from David Wilcock in one of his wisdom teaching episodes or something of the like. And I learned a lot from these people who were already online teaching. They already had way established these studies. And in a way, they were also just from talking about it and speaking about these topics and concepts, they were able to gather some data about it that you couldn't find anywhere else. It's like we had to create new data because when I did research it, like you said, there wasn't many other opinions out there that I could find, at least on the social media so far. And I was seeing a little bit of hype and they were starting to come up and people were starting to talk about it. And I was concerned right away because I could tell when people were reposting these things that they weren't reflecting how you actually read the data from that's being publicly shared online. And that was one thing that really threw me off because I had just finished a whole degree. I would have failed a paper if I had handed in that particular, I would say, reflection or description of this chart or this data. So I was like also frustrated with the public sources not even giving the full picture of the data that they're collecting, not having a legend with particular uh, I would say, terms and measurements that they were showing visually, but not quantifying. For example, with the Schumann resonance, it is measured in amplitude. They measure the amplitude of these resonances. And you can measure amplitude in a few different ways, which I also had to look up and learn myself. And you can measure the amplitude of the magnetic energy and of the electric energy, and you can measure it in decibels or microvolts or nanotesla and all this. And so if you're just looking at a chart that says amplitude on it and there's just numbers, there was no units of measurement. So another thing that I was having to just make up new ways to figure out how to measure the impact of what this amplitude was. If I couldn't figure out what the units were, I was just going to have to just guess and just see what happened to people when the amplitude just went up and see what happened to people and if there was any correlating timing and energy of people, which I found out really fast through basically making my own study with the Schumann Diaries, which I renamed Ascension Diaries, and on Facebook and on Instagram. Facebook has recently kind of shadow banned the page that I have on Facebook. It was a really successful and happy place, but it's kind of like a graveyard now, unfortunately. A lot of people moved over to Instagram, thankfully, but it was really fun, like just to post the data, tell people what time that the amplitude went up, and see what they responded to. Like most people are like, wow, that's why I couldn't sleep, or wow, that's why I had nausea potentially, because it just comes out of nowhere, these sporadic symptoms coming out of nowhere, which is another part of why I was so passionate about jumping into it, because I had just gone to school for 4.5 years to try and help people with their discomfort, because I was also extremely uncomfortable and was like, okay, something's wrong with society. Their minds are not working. Let's go into the study of the mind. And all I learned was basically that they've done the study of the mind and that they know how to manipulate the mind. And that was all I really took out of that. And I never learned a single sentence about any electromagnetic factors of our environment in training our brain waves and in training our own magnetic fields of every atom in our body and all of that. And I learned that stuff, those sciences, post school, post university. And then I just kind of mushed them all together to make the study, because another big narrative that came up with this, with the term ascension as well, which is why I used it as well, to see and play with it. Because if there is some type of event where, you know, the sun is going to give off a solar flare, you know, huge solar flare, and it's just going to fry our entire planet, and we're all just going to die, all of us surface dwellers, like within 8 minutes we're all fried, whatever. And I was like, okay, that helped me also move along in life. Like, don't wait to live, because you could die immediately from the sun blowing up or whatever. So don't live like you have all this time to just do nothing. I was like, okay, there's a purpose to living. Every moment is precious. And I also wanted to study the process in case we were accelerating towards a potential event, if there was evidence of that previous to the event, that I could see if there was going to be an increase of the frequency of Earth, which I haven't really seen. That one has been pretty steady. The amplitude of the frequency of Earth has been changing a lot, but the frequency itself, I've not noticed a lot of change. But just from the tools I have, I don't have every tool, but that's another, like, I would say a woo woo concept, is that the frequency of Earth is rising, and that's a part of this narrative that our frequency is rising, time's getting faster, the sun is giving off more energy, and you have to keep up with it or you're going to fry. And I wondered if that was true. I wanted to call these people out in a way, in my own way, and do actual research and just actually pursue this knowledge and awareness myself, instead of just hearing people try and tell me that we were all going to, you know, fry in a solar flare. I didn't want to live in fear. I wanted to take it into my own hands and be like, okay, I'm going to do a study in the process towards us frying in the sunlight. Like, I don't care. If we're all going to die, I might as well just have fun. But it's become less morbid as the time has gone by, because I've learned so much more. And at that time, I thought maybe I had another year or two with the hype that I was hearing of potential of this solar flare happening. And now the timelines and the narratives have been stretching out, and they really got stretched out now this last 2020 and so on, because of obvious reasons. And but all of this stuff that's happening, I've also been preparing for mentally and physically and emotionally with the blog and doing the study and watching this come in. And when they were announcing everything that was happening, and the name that they used for even the issue that they shut down the world on, the title, it means crown, it means the sun. So I was like, okay, there's an event with the sun that's changing the world, and it's just, there's like little, it's slightly different than expected. These themes are showing up different than expected slightly, but they're still hugely transformational. And some people did pass away either from the stress of the whole thing or whatever it was. But I also feel like it's still tied into what the spiritual community has been kind of feeding us. Like, okay, there is an event coming. It has to do with the sun. It has to, you know, and I don't think that that is totally finished yet. I don't think my job is done either. And through this blog, I've also been able to deliver these concepts to the logical mind as well, having my own spiritual awareness in a way, which I'm also kind of testing. It's not that you really need to test your spirituality, but it's more so for the logical mind. Like, does faith and generosity actually bring you more faithful, generous people? And whatever, does sharing your truth bring you people who are more willing to share their truth with you? And saying you need help, do you actually get help, and all that? And through this process, I've gotten a great community of people and lots of conversation. And delivered these concepts and these things without fear as much, without as much of a haste or this anxiety that I was fed when I was told these theories. Was a lot of fear and like anxiety, like it's happening soon, it's happening now. And a lot of things have happened
Mm.
that I would have considered what these people are also feeling into. But I have some actual evidence of these, of the earth's resonances getting louder on specific days that people also were premonitioning would happen.
Mm.
Like all of the psychics in the community don't need to look at the space weather all the time because they know all of a sudden they're like, June, it's June 10th, it's June 10th. And we're just like, okay, June 10th is coming. Like, what's June 10th? Oh, it's just the solar eclipse. Oh yeah, it's the solar eclipse. And oh, guess what else is happening? And there's 4 coronal mass ejections that came out of the sun around that time and all that. And I get to watch. I'm just like, okay, here comes June 10th. Like, let's see. And I just watch the sun just burp out these huge bubbles of plasma and gas and all this life force stuff, this father energy in a way too. It's beautiful. And you're like, all that stuff's just sprinkling down across all of the planets. And I don't even, it's just feeding this beautiful ecosystem. And some of those burps can, flares can scare us, but I think that's not the point. And it's become more of like a, honestly, it's been more poetic than ever, just flowing with it and predicting these waves are coming and feeling them coming and feeling the anticipation in my own body, training myself, my biology to be more sensitive to when solar wind is high, to when the Schumann resonance is going to be high all of the sudden. Like there is, we've used it almost as a biofeedback tool to become more aware of our own planetary existence. Like the fact that you can tap into all of us, people from our blogs, both of us across the planet are picking up on it at the same time. And it doesn't matter what Russia or Italy or all these charts are even saying now, because most of the time we feel it and then we just wait for the data to actually show up if it does. And then a lot of the time it shows up with edits and those hours missing.
Mm.
And now there's data being hidden and tucked away and censored and all these words that you could say, but it's only in a way validating people in a different way, in and almost in a faithful way.
Yeah.
It's a kind of against the logical mind, but just logical enough that people can string along. And it's like, okay, well, all of the hours of the solar eclipse or whatever are gone on. Everybody's down for maintenance. NASA's down for maintenance. Russia's down for maintenance. Italy's down for maintenance. Do they all know each other? They probably do. Like, what's the plan? And it's almost, it's become a comedic thing too. Like you and I laugh about it. Like we get to laugh because we're always doing this dance of trying to get the honest data out to the people, trying to have an honest conversation, not stimulating fear or hype about these things. That's my priority, anyways. Just genuinely getting real feedback from the audience about what they're feeling at what time, allowing them to see each other as other beings being influenced by this so they can feel into it more, they can own it more. And instead of it being like this cautious
Mm.
concern, like, ooh, that's outside of me, I have to protect myself against this. And it's like, no, this is like what you need to breathe into. These are the rhythms of what our sun and earth are doing together. If you can't play in those realms anymore, you got to go underground or leave, like, because there's nowhere else to go. And so there's all the techniques. And then most of the time, like, especially on your posts, you're like, here are some of the symptoms and here are some of the ways that you can mitigate those symptoms, because it's so common. Like we've pretty much narrowed them down into like a decent group of symptoms, I'd say. If you could, but they're on opposite sides of the spectrum too. Like, and people will have one side and then people will be like, well, is it weird that I feel the exact opposite? And I'm like, no, the data's been showing me that since like day one. And age group is also another thing that I've looked into trying to map. But I mean, Facebook and stuff, they don't really have, I would say, those tools to like get those metrics. In a way, I might be able to figure that out, but I'm not as big of a data person, like data gathering person for, I would say, the intricacy of it and the the fact that I could write it all up or print it all off and hand it in to get like a doctorate at a university or whatever, it's not been about that. It's just, it's all being stored up in my brain, most of it. And so when people ask me, I have something for them now most of the time. And in a way, I've kind of become like a doctor with
Mhm.
this effort, because it's it's helping people get back in touch with their health and their wellness and their own vibration and the vibration of their true mother, which is the earth we're born of, and the true father, in my opinion, which is like the sun, just because they're the biggest vibrating bodies that influence us, that are in our environment. And as a oscillating being, our resonance gets influenced and entrained into the environment we're standing on and being bombarded by all the time. So the moon is another big giant thing that's also creating a huge amount of resonance for us, which is why people get into astrology really heavily, because they realize this about these celestial bodies. But there is an even, some people even make fun of astrologers for doing that, and doing that practice, even though it's really good. And I've been picking up more and more astrology too, because it's extremely relevant to this study, even, and predicting how the energies are going to behave, and even the personality behind the shifts and the shifts and the lessons and the blah 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 that are going to be more common during certain times of the year. And it's just like backing up and seeing this huge celestial calendar and the constant weather that is overlaying on top of it. Some astrologers are just looking at the planets, and I'm looking at the planets and the weather between us and the sun as well. And so I'm mixing that. And then we're also putting on earthquakes and volcanoes and geopolitical drama and financial system drama and media drama and personal life drama and how my animals are behaving, and just packaging as much data I can in each diary post and giving them out the best I can. And it's been years now, and I've watched now multiple platforms, or not platforms, but mostly on Instagram. I've noticed a lot of more blogs of people, and even Twitter accounts and Twitter bots and Twitter or Telegram group chats now. And the community is growing, and they want to keep talking about the Schumann resonance. It's woken them up to a layer of reality and of their life. It's like when you learn about thunderstorms for the first time, or when you learn about the wind, like, or lightning, and it is caused by lightning. It's just this invisible force and this invisible sound that is just below our ability to hear with these eardrums, but we can still feel it. Like, there is something, most of us have the capacity to still feel these extremely low frequencies and how they behave. And it's because we were born here. We were born amongst it. The astronauts need these frequencies when they leave the orbit of the Earth, because I guess it just, they're like, excuse my language, but it just flubs up their whole brain waves if they don't have that particular resonator that they're standing in, I guess. And you just start losing control, because the Schumann resonance and uh, the the Schumann resonances of Earth are within our own brainwave states. And as a psychologist, I was like, holy shit, like, I need to be sure to watch this, because people's brains from our planet being so much bigger than us could literally just get shifted into specific brainwave states, and they don't know it's happening outside of them. And a lot of people will blame themselves for all of the sudden going into all these shifts and changes. And I've had to also offer that, be like, hey, you don't have to blame yourself. You don't have to go to the doctor and get prescription medication, because you're not having anxiety, depressive episodes out of the random blue. And there's no, there's no emotional wound here that you're not understanding. It's your physiology is actually adjusting around you, and our minds and our culture want us to go into self, you know honestly, we're extremely critical of ourselves. And I think that's been a big part of it too, is there's people really critical, and they feel like they need to perform in a perfect way and be almost machines in order to compete, and in order to make enough money, and in order to produce enough content, and blah blah blah. And I've only had to teach myself and lots of people, like, it's okay to put it down, it's okay to rest, because you can blame the entire solar system for how you're feeling right now and not blame it, but then integrate that, love it, learn to dance with it, learn to own and enjoy that connection again. And it's funny because there's some people who also on the periphery in the science and space community who are still working through the potential that we're on a flat earth and that we are having a different, that things are moving and shifting in a slightly different way than what I see mechanically when I'm clairvoyantly like picking up all of this stuff. Because that's been another big thing is I had to pursue this in a feminine and masculine way and pursue the masculine as much as I could, get all the data and then meditate on it and see it with my own mind and help pursue the language that I needed to kind of strike up the right conversations. And I sometimes I struggle to translate it the best, but I'm trying, and it's taking years of translating what I see and the simplicity of it and the utility of it to people because I want to help them use this utility. And I've noticed that obviously it's been really helpful for people in specific who have nervous system sensitivity and who are as well, I would say, gifted people, sensitive, gifted people who I also love to surround myself with because I relate to them and also really, really appreciate their feedback, like yourself, because there's just so much stimulus sometimes to sort through. And then people are asking me, like, Alexis, did you feel that or did you catch that? And I was just like, man, I don't even know where I am right now. Like, I guess I did miss it because I just got swept up by it. And I'm coming back down and finally remembered to look at my cell phone. And it's been a whole 2 days or whatever. And I'm just like, and that was crazy. And, I'm learning to get more grounded too, as well. And I guess there's a benefits of being ungrounded and being above and kind of looking at Earth on a certain perspective, but also it's really nice to also see it quietly from the earth and buried in the dirt and just seeing how the trees are handling it and seeing how the ducks are feeling and just being quiet and not engaging with anybody and letting everybody have their process and then coming back and reviewing with everyone after we, roll through a wave of CMEs that are hitting us or a solar flare. Solar flares are a big one. And that is the most threatening, I would say, thing other than, I don't know, other stars having solar flares nearby us or what even else is really more intimidating than the sun, like shooting a huge multi-dimensional light wave out of itself. And I learned about the Carrington event through this process as well, which was a time when a solar flare did impact and like melted telephone wires and people's change in their pockets and stuff, but people's change in their pockets and their telephone wires, but not the people. And
Mm.
it's beautiful that we can survive so much is another thing I've learned is in the beginning of the study, I was seeing all this big stuff and I was like, oh my God, like this big stuff's happening and people around me still have no idea, but I can see they're still feeling weird, but they don't know what it is. But it was shocking to me how beautiful it was, how much I've survived in my ignorance, like how much space weather that we've just survived through with barely a flutter of an eyelash. It's so funny. And so many days as a child where I would be so totally wrecked for no reason. And I really wish I could have checked that
Right, right. I
when I
thought,
was older.
yeah, totally thought the
Yeah.
same thing.
And
Um,
I've seen, I guess the thing has been on since maybe 1997, that the Russian chart potentially,
mhm.
but I haven't seen all the data and there's no way to kind of look back that far that I found. I really wanted to look at December 21st, 2020 or 2012. I found the 19th and there
Oh,
was some blasting, but I couldn't see the big day, which I was barely awake enough to fully grasp the concept of at that time. But I was woken up before 2012 on purpose. But I was in the 11th grade really when that was happening. So I hadn't gotten the social or the intellectual or the community vibe of anything. So I was just kind of like, okay, here it comes, like 2012, it's coming, like, okay. And my passed on grandmother was just like mentoring me through a lot of this. That's how I awakened was because she got sick and died. So it was all of this like, hey, you're a medium. And I was like, oh, thank God, because I really am going to miss her. And let's get some messages through. And now, okay, go to psychology, go be a psychologist. And I was like, okay, fine. And all these messages and aliens and all of it has been overlapping with this concept too, which the veil being thinner so you can contact your passed on loved ones. There's correlation in my research with when those days happen. There's correlation when there's more sightings of UFOs and ET, like whatever, starships and stuff with the data, because I'm pretty sure it all has to do with the vibration of our planet at certain times is capable of transferring or having more of a bleed through of other vibrations. Like it's like you get closer and closer to the barrier so you can see and feel what's over here more. But it's not like I can just jump up in the sky and grab one of these UFOs and be like, what's up? Like there's a barrier between us, but they're still
Mhm.
there and like perceivable. And same with my passed on loved ones. Like they come around me, I can sense them, but I can't see them, but I know what they're saying. I can hear what they're saying to me. And it's like the same thing when the Schumann is blasting or there's a huge celestial event coming. I start getting information about it in my dreams, and I start getting information from you and from so
Mhm.
many of our followers and stuff. And we're like, okay, what is coming? We're feeling something coming. We're feeling that pause before, or that draw out of the wave before it like comes and hits the shore again. And what is this delivery system? Like what's going to be delivered here so we can use it, we can utilize it. And that's been the mastery, I guess, that I think we're moving into more now. But the solar cycle is getting more intense now. So I'm like, is that why we're training? Like, did we literally have to train for like 4 or 5 years of the old solar cycle dissipating to like really be there from step one of this next solar cycle? And I've been reading articles that it's supposed to be like pretty powerful because the last cycle was so short, I guess, before the sun like polarities changed again, which commenced a new cycle. And I guess it just happened on the 12th is what I felt it was. And that was the heat of all of this equipment not working and just being shut down. And we woke up that morning and I felt like my polarity had been swapped. And I was just like, wow, like I felt like I had been at a spa, but also super tired and really heavy and thinking backwards. And I was like, something happened and I couldn't check anything because it was all offline. So I was like, okay. And then this, what was it? Did you see the article? It was called it's like the something event, the transient event, or the,
I
it
might have
was,
seen something, yeah, flash by.
yeah, it was crazy. The article, the timing of it, it was quoted from the 10th of June, published on the 11th of June. And the quote on the 10th said, we believe we're kind of, out there scientists of the sun science, but we believe that the polarities are basically going to smash in the middle from positive to negative and smash in the middle and like do this crazy flippy doo-dah. And that's just what it does every 11 years. And that's how you know the solar cycle has shifted. And well, I don't know, we're woo woo kind of, but we think it's happening very, very soon, they wrote. And I was like, okay, so they do. I've noticed they do this with articles too. Like they'll also post articles that are like major solar events about a year or two after they've actually happened and put that deeper in the article, like the actual date of occurrence. So everyone will be like, oh, a huge solar event happened today because that article will be released, but nobody's reading down to the actual like day that this article is reporting about. Like other stars like Betelgeuse and whatever, Alpha Centauri and all these stars giving off these supernovas, blah, blah, blah. And they'll tell us like after they've already hit us and stuff like that. And that pisses me off so much. Like, because I just want to know, I want to be more involved. I find it to be fun. I find it to be fun. And I don't know. So that's why I do what I do and why Alisha like humors me and reads my articles and
Oh my,
invites me to do not fun things because this is what I do all day. And I get questions all day, all over the world. Like, what does this mean? What is going on? But for some reason, everyone seems to get it. And they are like, they see the timing, they convert to their time, and they're like, yep, that's when I completely passed out in a nap in the middle of the day, no other explanations. Here we go. And then they begin their own study, and they just keep following my blog, and people get more confident, and it's working.
It sure is. And you do a massive service to humanity. Like, and what I love about your work is that it is so integrated in all aspects. You know, you really bridge
Wow.
the science and the spirituality, the masculine, the feminine, like in all components, you know, earth, sun. You
Yeah,
get
true.
into this nice little package that can inform people on such an in-depth level of giving people information and data that is going to help them for their own individual journey. And that's a hard task to do, Alexis. Like that's skill. But I love the comment you made about being like a doctor. And I've never thought about it, but yeah, you're an ascension doctor. Like ultimately you studied at university and now your profession is in, helping guide people through ascension, and that you do that so well. You really do. Um, and I could listen to you all day. I'm so enthralled. Like everything that you're saying is just like making all the senses in my body just go bing, bing, bing.
Yay.
And I think I'm going to have to want to come back and rewatch this over and over. And I'm just going to recap on some of the points that you've touched on, then we'll continue down because I do want to talk about the sun and the solar cycle because that stuff gets me well and truly going.
Right.
um, so yeah, just to recap, I love the fact that you've just blown my mind, and I wish that we have the opportunity, and hopefully we can, to talk more regularly because I know that there's big gaps in between actually having a conversation together. And I
Right.
think that there's a lot of I think what I like about it is that your work and what you do for people, it brings people together.
Mm-hmm.
It brings people who potentially wouldn't be into the woo woo. It brings them in
Yes.
through the science and the data. And then the people on the spiritual side, it brings them into maybe a more grounded, focused place of looking at data. It kind of brings in that balance. Um, and I think it really helps people like you and I who are a little bit sensitive. And like you said, I look back at my life and I went to see a psychic when I was 19. And she said like a couple of things. And those things that always stay in your mind. She said to me, she said, "You are so sensitive to the earth." She said, "One day you'll understand." Yeah, I know. Back then I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. She said, "You are so sensitive to the earth that it impacts you." She goes, "That, and she gave me an example. She's like, there could be an earthquake on the other side of the world. And she said, you'll wake up with a headache. And
Yep.
she said all these things. I wish I'd paid more attention to what she was saying. And she also said that I was highly influenced by galactic energy. I didn't even know what that meant back then. And I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I
Right.
think it's true for a lot of us in the community and who aren't in the community. And I
Yeah.
think it's great that it's growing through being able to bridge the work like you do. So
Thank you.
the final point that I'll point out is the dreams that we
Mm.
get that point us to a potential prediction. I'll say that, but maybe intuitive hunch of what's about to come through. Uh,
Right.
I love that people who are in tune intuitively or through dream space, they get information about maybe the sun or um, experiences with the sun, or about I had a dream back in February. I've had two Schumann resonance dreams that I can remember recently. Back in February, I had a dream that when certain people come together who have a blended energy, let's say, that you might talk about it in like sacred partnerships or like really intense sort of, as those people were coming together, it was impacting the Schumann resonance and it was creating,
Oh,
yeah, I mean, that's just,
okay.
but I woke up from that dream and I looked and the same patterns that I was seeing in the dream were actually happening real time.
Wow.
And then, I said to you that I had that dream the other day about the Schumann hitting 170. That is yet to happen, I believe. Um,
Right. Not since way back in 2019, but I'm ready to see it do it again. I'm down. That was a fun
you
ride.
you reckon we might see? I mean, it's hard to predict, but I would like to see it between now and 8/8.
Okay.
Putting it out
We
there,
can
just
do
going to
that.
put it out there.
Hey, it could be, there's a big ass holiday about to be celebrated on 8/1 in this particular area of collective consciousness that I'm swimming in. So maybe it'll
Maybe.
be that day. Fireworks.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
I mean June 1st and then 4th. I guess 1st is the northern country and then 4th
back.
is down here. So North America is about to party a lot in the first 4 days of July. Maybe it'll be then.
It'd be interesting to watch. It'd be kind of
It
cool.
will be.
So, can we talk about the sun?
Mhm.
Can we talk about, maybe if you could just give a little overview of like solar cycles, and that we've entered into, well, we believe that we've entered into solar cycle 25, and just give people a little intro into that, and then we can talk about the sun, because sun's one of my favorite topics.
Sure, I can talk a little bit so people who are maybe unfamiliar or don't regularly watch potential YouTube videos about the solar weather and what the sun is constantly cooking up for us and delivering out every week. There's just a new batch of goodies that rotate. The sun begins to turn and everything that rotates past and we're in range of there is being heavily monitored, and there's online resources to watch the sun and its many different exaltations and what it's doing all the time, because it is quite a nuclear reactor sort of thing. It's constantly exploding. And it's funny that you had a dream about, in a way, this like sexy energy with the Schumann energy, but with the sun is what I see a lot of it about. Is I even think that maybe in one of the channel texts that Jace likes, it's called the Law of One, there is something about the sun and like how it on another, basically on
No,
another plane, it is like in a way sexual energy that's being formed and like released out, and
no way.
other entities and stuff in that plane of existence participate in that or something. So, and really it is like the masculine and the feminine mixing, the magnetic and electric is where this life force is happening, and it's happening all the time everywhere. And I totally, like,
Can I just
for
say
example, yeah.
something? Because you've just blown my mind right now, and I have.
Okay. Good. You hadn't heard that one?
I not well, I had, but not. I didn't
Okay.
know that there was stuff in the Law of One about that.
I
And
think it is. Yeah.
it's been a concept of mine for a while, in my
Mhm.
own context of understanding. And I had a conversation with a soul brother of mine, Donovan, and we're planning to do a round table, a Cosmic Gateway round table, specifically talking about this, probably after World Unity Week. But
Right.
I want to invite you to come on that, because he was literally saying, I don't want to give too much away. You'll have to go and watch this episode when we do it. But he was literally talking about how he believes that the solar flash is a cosmic event, like a
Like an
masculine.
orgasm?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's what I think too.
My goodness. Okay. I won't
But
go
I
any
think,
further. But yeah.
yeah, I think there's also like orgasmic energy that can come up through in less of a sexual way, but it's also like also these bursts of like confidence through the heart and through your solar plexus. Like we can burst out of multiple orifices and stuff. Like there's a lot of potentials. We have a lot of chi flow moments. So some of them for sure are like, I think are sexual ejaculatory sort of energy, but I think there's also other times where it's like you know, even when you're a Reiki master, you know that when you can like shoot energy with your hands and you can do all of this in your feet. And that's what all martial arts is about too, is directing and moving your flow to shoot out energy basically. So you barely even have to rough somebody up. You're already like taking them out with your chi flow and all of that. So that's super cool. I'd be down to talk more about that. And
I look forward.
speaking of which, it is fun because another way that or another thing about the blog that I've done that you mentioned earlier when you're recapping what I had said was it's accessible in a way to people who are more of a logical mind and a spiritual mind. And it kind of is a bridge. At least I try to make it that bridge at the best that I can, because I do weigh or sway more now these days more into the feminine side, because you can only repeat yourself so many times, like on the masculine, like this is how the Schumann resonance works, because I'm just repeating what I've learned from sources that I know are not even fully true and or fully fledged out knowledge, like from Wikipedia or from NASA. These are really the only places that
Mhm.
have like any type of context of maybe primary source data about this, but not really. And it's kind of and they keep changing it. But I've noticed that wives and husbands in a couple both can somehow vibe or understand what I'm saying to a degree,
Mhm.
and they can communicate with this as this also as this potential median between the feminine and the masculine mind and logic and so on. So that's been really flattering, is people will be like, oh, my husband loves you and he doesn't quite get it, but he really likes, you know, some of the stuff that you've said. And I'm like, awesome, like that's amazing. And or your wife or whatever, your dog, I don't care, but your grandma, your dad, your cousins, I got it all. And
Sure do. It bridges
the
across multiple planes of existence and worlds and levels of consciousness.
which is good, because I think it means that it is almost as simple as weather, because
Mm.
the weather is like the one thing people talk about, the pretty much the only thing people talk about to each other, other
Mhm.
than like what's your name, where are you from, and then they talk about the weather. It's like the first few things of human interaction that is.
Very true.
And so I feel like this is just a part of the weather that's just not been revealed yet, but because it's all involved, like all of the stuff that comes out of the sun and the solar wind and the solar flares and everything, all of that cosmic energy grounds into our system through the weather system. That's why the Schumann resonance and lightning are so important, because the surface to ionosphere cavity, which is just a layer of ions around our outermost bubble of gas, and that's a whole cavity that this huge frequency is rotating 7.5 times in a 1 second in this huge cavity. And that's like this really low that's happening around us that we are tapping into. And the lightning that's constantly shooting down, because this everything from space is also hitting us, and it's shooting down and grounding into the center of our earth, and grounding into the ground and through the tree systems and into the water. And all of this electrical potential from space is grounding in all the time. And that's what causes that background hum all the time. It's like 5,000 or 50,000 lightning strikes a second or something. It's one of those. I might be adding that zero to like that too much, but I think it's like 50,000 or something. I'm mostly recalling from like visual memory right now, but I have taught a class about this and like shared these things too, about what NASA says and what Wiki says. And they also will talk about this cavity being that cavity of our Earth is common on other planets. And they also will have an ionospheric layer and a surface that's hard enough that there is this potential for this waveform to form. And so there's Schumann resonances or planetary resonances of other planets in our own solar system. And I think it's on Wikipedia that they have this particular information, but like Venus and some of the moons around Saturn, and like there's a few planets that will be able to have their own resonance, and it's also has to do with mammalian brainwave potential. So with planets that have a resonance, they could also have mammalian brain life that coexist in that space, I guess. And so that's all of our mammalian brains are tuned with our planetary resonance, or all of our manageable and our normal brainwave scale falls into most of the Earth resonances, this Schumann resonances. There's like 6 of them, of it, basically like a bell. Like you hit the bell once and it's 7.83 hertz. And then the resonation, that when that first resonation hits itself, it doubles itself and it speeds up, it builds up on itself. So there's multiple notes that actually get hit, but it stems off of the first note. And so that's the one I study. But sometimes the notes, it doesn't gradually dissipate. Sometimes the notes, like 4 notes in, spikes higher or at the same level, which we just had a few hours ago. There was just a huge anomaly on the charts that I don't understand happened. It just, between even you and I, there is a specific resonance, like the 4th Schumann resonance had a, basically it whited out horizontally for a couple, like an hour or two, a couple spots, which is weird because usually it's all the whole cascade of frequencies from like 0 to 40 where that amplitude kind of lays into us. But it was just specifically like 26 hertz, like and like burned into there. So something weird is going on. Like in that's another part of the study, is I've learned how much potential electromagnetic manipulation there's happening on a planetary scale level, or at least on a countrywide level over the specific stations that I monitor. I notice anomalies where you're like, that doesn't make any sense. And I don't know what would have possibly caused that. Is there a 26 hertz shooting in from space and just shooting into our, I don't know. I don't know if that's how it works. It doesn't seem, because that's not really how the physics of the whole thing works. And I've had to learn physics on these levels. And like you said, with the sun, I've had to learn what a coronal hole is, what a sunspot is, what a solar flare is, what a coronal mass ejection is, what a solar cycle is. And I've had to go online and find other people teaching about this, which is more common, thankfully, because I think it's just more of a, it's outside of us, it's far away, so it's okay to monitor it. And it's this detached almost, and a lot of it is fear-based too, like monitoring it because you could die. Like, let's monitor it and maybe we're not going to die, or some people are definitely going to die today from this. And it gets really like morbid, I find. And I've also been aggressed against by some of the people who only report on YouTube, who are very popular, aggressed against me because I was correlating the data that they've been picking up from the sun, and I've been learning, and their resources, which a lot of them are also not their sources, they've just been reporting them on their channels, so they don't own the sources. They just own their opinions about it, which is fine. But they've been like, get my stuff off of your channel, because I don't believe in studying the Schumann resonance. And I've had that a couple times, like, and the argument always is that it's not loud enough, or there's not enough amplitude for it to impact us. And that's the biggest argument I've gotten back. And I'm like, says who? I have data all for years that
Yes.
this is not, that's not the case. And I don't get anything back from that. I just get more threats. So it's been tough. But we've been edging our way. I've been politely nudging and kind of pushing a little bit of a place where I can enjoy my free will to make a study about this and not be cast aside as well as some type of hyped up spiritualist who's trying to just get views and buy cute clothes for themselves and whatever. Like, I don't care about that. I have taste and great clothes, but like, that's not the goal here. And I've been wearing this particular thing in like probably like 50 videos now. I would like more, I'd like some more fashion to talk about the weather, but I don't need it. It's fine, because the goal has always been to talk about this and educate people and bring it up. And it's constantly happening. The space weather is constantly happening, and sometimes at inconvenient times, but I've kept up with it the most I can, because the conversation has been getting pulled and like shoved around by blogs that are popping up that are getting thousands and thousands of likes and more traffic pushed to them than mine that's been there for years and is being suppressed. I can't even follow people back on my Instagram, and my Facebook's totally getting eaten, my YouTube as well. Like, I'm being,
Yeah.
to a degree, but it's fine because I have lots to do. I have quality connections with people, so that's not a big deal, but I'm noticing just what's happening around me because I made this my business particular to watch the conversation about this because I have questions that have yet to be answered
Mm.
all these years, but for some reason it's still leading me. I'm still getting led like, yes, the answers are coming. Like I'm getting an awareness. I can answer more questions. And I'm also getting good questions from the audience, like more questions that some people are even finally getting in touch with the Tomsk Russia University and I have people who are like, I got their email and like, I'm emailing, I'm going to see if they'll respond to us and maybe get some more information and collaboration about this data because we're so connected to it. We've seen so much correlation, and some of these solar guys online don't want to talk about it, and I don't know why, but that's
I'm so
something to
glad
note.
you brought that up. I'm so glad you brought that up for so many
Okay.
reasons. Because I have witnessed those incidents that you've had. Well, at least one of them, I'm aware of them.
Right.
And it hurts my heart and it hurts my soul because I know you and I understand your intentions and I think you do amazing work in the world. I wasn't aware so much until recently about the
Right.
fear mongering that happens about potentially what the sun could do. I actually, I can honestly tell you, I was completely ignorant of that was even a thing until probably 3 weeks ago. And something popped up in my YouTube, which was from one of those bigger accounts. And
Oh,
the catchy line, and I was like, oh, and I went
hearts.
to share it, and I would hang on, and I watched it, and I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, oh no, 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 that's not my reality. That's not going to happen. But I realized that, well, obviously,
Yeah.
that many things. I realized that information's out there, A,
Right.
and that in all, and this has been my observation for years, not just on the sun or space weather or anything like that, but anything that has a fear mongering perspective gets far more
Well,
uh,
yes.
reach than something that is life changing and helpful. But I just want to say to you, Alexis, like as frustrating as it is to be shadow banned and censored, because I can relate to that too, you know that you're doing good in the world when that happens. I mean, the flip side of that is if you've been
Yes.
then you're obviously making an impact and doing good work in the world for that information to want to be suppressed. So hats off to you.
Well, I'm glad it's that particular side, I'm not being that compared to other people.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I don't tread into the fear mongering and I kind of do stay more neutral with the political side of things. But it is related, and I do have my projections and opinions about that stuff too. And as my blog and my diary expands, you have to talk about what I'm seeing in my own reality and the patterns, and that's gotten me into trouble a couple
Mhm.
times. And even when I'm coming from a first person perspective with my own raw data of events, I'm being, you know, I'm being censored and I'm being attacked for those things. And like you said, thankfully, in a way, it is a sign that, potentially what you're talking about is on the money, but isn't what the narrative needs to be for everybody. So we're being like herded around and kind of cattled around. And I've been lucky enough, I've been tiptoeing around it in a way and just trying to keep my platforms at least because they're still allowing me to see some people and
Mhm.
connect. And that was the whole point. And it was to connect with people. And I've been told by my guides, I guess I can say, that I have to tough it out and just keep going on, like with a smile, like it's not even bothering me. Like even the beings who I've noticed are taking the data I hold and cherish so much and perverting it. And I would say, and I know that might be an extreme of a word, but it does feel like that sometimes when I've been working and like plowing and chugging away, like trying to get people to understand the concepts of the science behind what we're doing. And the people who maybe have never done well in science, but are feeling really called to this and who are super spiritual, but they want to know, or they have some type of nervous system issue, and to know this stuff would really help them and their own health. So I really try and work towards that. And then I'll wake up and I'll have like, 10 messages from an article that was released with a huge number on it and a huge like image of like a blast, and some of them aren't even real, they're not even accurate, they're fabricated images of data and faked for illustrative purposes but not stated that they are being done. So like the journalism and the science of a lot of this stuff is really not to par with the standards, I would say, that I was raised in and I was schooled in. So I'm surprised with how strict I felt like I was being, you know, told to do this when I was growing up. The lack of that in the world that I've noticed, I've just been like, how did that happen? Like, I thought I was shitty because I was getting B's on this stuff. And no, I'm like, everyone's getting a D. Like, everyone's getting an F right now. What is happening? Why were my standards so high when I could have just like not stressed out so hard and still done okay and given people something and get hundreds of thousands of views? But instead, I'm like going extra, like above and beyond to my standards. And I'm like, okay, I'm not even reaching everybody with the language. So that's tricky. People know scary, like big explosive numbers and explosive scary posts and channelings from etheric beings and all of this is getting looped into it. And that's what I think these dudes who are the solar scientists, like they look over a little bit maybe and see a little bit of Schumann resonance stuff online and they're like, these people have no fucking idea what they're doing, they're
Yeah.
ridiculous, and they are, you know, they're like, it's basically heroin. Like they're just
Yeah.
doing heroin with this with this concept and not grounding into it or you know, participating in the science of this discovery or whatever. And I don't like getting looped into that pile because obviously, for obvious reasons, I'm trying not to do that. I respect the scientific principles as well, where you need to be able to recreate the study on your own, which I've tried to make my study super transparent so people can recreate it. You need to give all your sources for the data you're sharing and reflecting on. And there's just these basic things. Some of the charts online aren't even following all the scientific principles because I am assuming there's some type of secrecy or like, I don't know what the point of that is. Competition, potentially. I don't get that part, but yeah, it's hard. It's been hard to be mushed into the woo woo crowd, but also like try and save people from the woo woo crowd. Like I'm there long enough to be like, hey, you could believe that this is true that they're saying, or you could believe this or add this to the collection of your study and just here you go, like here's another option, here is more, since you're so interested and maybe afraid right now, here's some more. And I just try and that's what I try and do. And I don't know if it's innocent or if there's like an insidious factor to this that I maybe just like, I would say maybe not taking seriously enough sometimes. It's like this, there's potential insidiousness to it that I'm like, ha ha ha, but it triggers me. So I'm like, okay, so I need to pay attention and my emotions react, my heart reacts, and I get protective of the situation. But I don't
And
know
rightfully
if
so,
that's,
I think, in my opinion anyway, in my humble opinion, and rightfully so, to get protected um
uh,
of the world.
okay. Well, I'm going to keep doing it probably, but I'm trying really hard to be like understanding and like everyone has their right to interpret this stuff the way they want because that's what I'm doing. But like, to what degree is it appropriate? And I guess it's just keeping the conversation going, like not allowing someone to just take the pedestal about this concept anymore, really allowing group reflection and
Yeah.
giving people's voices back. Like you guys need to speak up if you disagree with something you're seeing online about facts with space weather or anything, anyone that's just saying things as if they're pure fact. Just take another minute for them because they are, I think, not considering some things and also trying to show that they know something that you don't, or that you need them, or you need their training or their course, or you need to pay them for anything because you don't have something that they have or you don't know something that they know. And just stay away from beings that are trying to privatize information and stow away occult knowledge or whatever, or try and make you one up over other people if you invest in them. And I'm noticing there's so many freaking games, and it's a lot to do with money and like power and influence when you work on social media too. And I'm just like, like it's so complicated sometimes. And I'm just like, I just want to meet with people who understand what I'm saying, and like somebody help me. Like I'm confused. Like anyone else want to offer me some knowledge about how space weather affects us? Like it's such a study. I'm pretty sure we know a lot about somebody, and like research has been done, and it's been done a long time ago, and it's these ancient wisdoms as well. Like it's just a truth of life on earth. And I'm just like, why are we thinking about it this way? Like I don't understand. It's been hard and fun, and a great learning social opportunity for me too, to be a blog person that's actually getting popular, because yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of people to handle, a lot of opinions, a lot of different powerful people who think that they're the single-handedly causing the Schumann resonance. I've had lots of those emails. I've had emails that they're single-handedly causing the solar flares, and I'm just like, sorry, man, like you and I are not separate entities. So if you're saying you're doing something, that means I'm automatically doing it at the same time. So there's no separation between us. You can be more involved consciously with these events. Like some people are like probably sitting in their house being like, here comes the Schumann resonance, and boom, like meditating it into existence. But I'm, in my opinion, I think they're just riding the event. They're
Mhm.
sensing it coming, participating, and watching the outcome.
Mm.
And we're all doing it to certain levels of awareness, I think. And again, with the sun, like literally beings coordinating, I don't even know, like literally having sex in the sun and coordinating a burst. So it's going to hit us on the 23rd, because the divine timeline and everything, all the timing of the universe needs to hit at that second. So people over here having sex, people over here are dreaming, and people over here are in their spaceship partying. Like there's so much going on all at the same time. That's been fun too. It's like, okay, everybody, the thing happened. Tell me what you did as you're part of the thing. And some people are like, it was me and you need to worship me. And I'm just like, block you, because like, good luck. And if you see me in the wild at the grocery store, I'm happy for you. But as an entity that needs to have any of my time and energy, you just lost my access to me, because it's just people go so crazy narcissistic so fast too. It's just, it's hard to watch. And I know they're out there, and that's fine, but I don't need, and social media has given me that barrier and protection where I can be like, yo, we need a break from each other, fam, because you're getting way too comfortable with another stranger online, and how you talk to them, or how you talk about yourself to other
Mhm.
people. Even like you're going way, I don't think you would say this to anybody in person, like out, but it's just online that's giving you this power trip too. And people go on power trips crazy, like the names people choose for themselves on Instagram. Even you're like, well, okay, like you're the queen goddess of the earth, and like bow down to me and pay me $50 and like all this. And you're just like, what's going on? Like, it's been fun. Like this community, I was one of the first I know on Instagram, at least in my algorithm in 2014, one of the first spiritual quote, like Instagram pages I was doing and making. And I was like so excited. And then they started populating, and I was like, okay, this is how you affect the collective consciousness. Like you make something that you want to see more of,
Mm.
and then you see it showing up, and it'll reflect back to you all these different things. And so I've done that to a crazy degree, and I've seen so much stuff come back, and some of it's really thrown me for a ride, and it's also allowed me to be more solid in my own intention and be there for people who have doubts and are new maybe to the woo woo community and their potential to fly off the handle a little bit. But that's why we love them, because while they're doing that, they pick up some good stuff and they bring it back, and I'm happy. But and I'm not trying to get on their case either, because I'm those people sometimes too. But I've learned so much about behavior of people through this study. It's been the most gratifying master's or doctorate of my degree in psychology that I could have, and sociology, that I you know, I'm grateful, and I didn't have to pay a cent to do it. I gave my entire life to do it. I didn't pay someone to tell me it. I was like, I'm just going to only do this, and the universe is going to catch me, and it has. And I'm grateful, and got to teach that too to some people and demonstrate that to people on my blog as well. Like, just jump into it, and it's going to be tough, and but your commitment, it'll work out. And if you're true and honest, and
Mm.
it'll keep working out. And I've just somehow kept managing to do what I'm doing despite a lot of obstacles and shifts in my life. And I guess I'm still supposed to be offering this service to others, and I'm grateful to be useful. I just want to be
Mm.
useful,
I'm
you
so
know.
glad that you shared all that in really raw honesty, because I think that that is probably one of the great attributes about you is transparency and your honesty. And for people who may not have that insight into what you deal with on a daily basis in
Right.
doing this as your life work, I think that's important for people to understand, because people can have perceptions around it. And I just really appreciate that, because you have your good days, you have your bad days, you have your really human days where you get really narky and
Yeah.
you have to call yourself off the ledge from so
Yeah, Jace is like, okay, don't send that message. Okay, you can maybe just don't. Maybe that's a little harsh. And I'm like,
the
thanks, babe.
email just for 12 hours.
Yeah, just sleep on it. That's something my mom would say too. Like, just sleep on it, Alexis. And I would be like, okay, because I do get worked up about things. I get passionate, but it's really out of place of protectiveness. I feel very
Mhm,
protective
mhm,
and defensive of this study and of this thing, because I'm so like I'm so tired of the lies, of the deception in the scientific community, in the spiritual community, and like every friggin' community, and every book I've ever read, and every reality that I've engaged with. It's just plots and storylines and bloodlines and lies and deceit and books and paperwork, and everything can be edited, everything can be, replaced, even timelines and stuff. Like, eh, there's technology to do all of this stuff. I'm watching them manipulate with obvious machinery or something, manipulate the electromagnetic frequencies over Russia and Italy and stuff. And I'm like, this is really happening. Like, and we feel weird, and it's happening. And who's in charge of this, and how? That's scary. Like,
mhm.
me going into that study, then seeing potential that there is planetary manipulation going on, just me sitting in my apartment being like, okay, so potentially planetary secret something is happening to mold all our brainwaves in certain ways. And there's some articles right here that say that they can do that with HARP, and
Mhm,
they can modify the brainwaves of an entire country based off of bouncing it off of the ionosphere and all this crap. Like, I didn't want to be the lady, the young woman bringing that conversation to people, but for some reason I've still felt that charge, and it takes a lot to like be honest about that and like bring that conversation up. Like, really, if you think about it, it's kind of a risky move.
mhm.
And for some reason it's the time, and I've
Yeah.
had no challenge or danger in this conversation at all. I've just had support and uh not even a lot of commentary. Like, I just keep saying these things, and sometimes people are like, yeah, and then sometimes I get crickets, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do or say anymore sometimes, because I repeat myself a lot. I've been doing this for years. I'm going on stage for the first time, really, to speak about this, like maybe my third time, but potentially to an actual larger crowd for the first time in an event I'm making, because I've asked to go to many events and help organize a lot of events in the disclosure community. And I feel like I have a relevant topic to disclose to people about their reality, just like secret space programs and secret blah, 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 and clones and who, all this cool stuff, which is all involved. And I've had to just keep cranking away at it, because every time I ask to speak about these things, there's this resistance and there's this misunderstanding. And I've been just kind of waiting for that to like latch into the collective consciousness so it's an understood topic or a relevant topic, because I truly believe it is so inherently important to the conversation. And I can't tell if that's just my opinion or if I like if other people agree. And so I'm going to go on stage for the first time and like really deliver it. And at our event, well, there's other people there who are there to see other speakers, and then we'll see how a live audience reacts to this. And I'm going to ask them lots of questions and try and get some data from them and see how it goes. But it's been weird. Like I've had to plug along with this a long time, and I don't know why I feel like I have to keep doing it, but I think it may have to do with the solar cycle. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Let's segue out into that, because
Okay.
that's why I wanted to finish off with, for you to talk about the Family of Light gathering that you're holding and putting together, which is a lot of work, and a lot of credit to you and Jace putting it together
Thank
in
you.
Sedona. Um, but before we
Thanks,
segue
guys.
into that, I just want to say to you, thank you. And I truly believe that there will, there is challenges, and I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but sometimes it's, nice to hear it reflected back to you through another human being. I
I'm
relate.
listening.
I relate to the struggle in other ways, and I know that there will be a breakthrough. I know that all the work that you have done and continue to do every day, does not go unnoticed at all. And I know that there will be a breakthrough when the rest of the collective is ready to hear and listen and understand. And I have no doubt that people will talk about your work for, many, many, many years to come. So thank you for your service. Alexis, you
Wow.
really service the community in such a myriad of ways that is helping. Um, and I just want to cheerlead you on. And I know that this has just been, before we segue out, because I really do want you to talk about it and encourage people to come to your conference and or tune in online
Right.
live streaming service. But before we segue out into that, I just want to note, and I probably should have done this in the beginning, but what we've spoken about on this 90-minute segment is literally the drop in the sea of consciousness of what you deliver on your platforms, on your channel. This is just a brief overview of a conversation. So I highly encourage, if this has been a thought-provoking, interesting conversation on any level, to go and check out Alexis's platforms at Ascension Diaries, via YouTube, via Instagram, via Facebook, via her website. And I will put all the links of where you can go and have a look at that in the description. Once we finish this live, I'll have to go back and edit it, but it'll all be there. And also have a look into what you're about to speak about. So very exciting, your first conference coming up, what,
Yeah.
in a few weeks, actually.
Yeah. We're going to be hosting it at the Sedona Creative Life Center, which is pretty much the only place you can host events here. It's a beautiful event center spot, and it'll be July 23rd, 24th, 25th here. And yeah, we're doing a mind, body, spirit day. So we have speakers, friends of ours who are also, they're also people who put videos on YouTube. A lot of the people we've asked are friends we've made through being the people who make videos and put them on YouTube. Like out of the collective, there are, some people who are putting videos on YouTube and some people who are watching them and doing other things with their time, like helping us, making sure that everything's going well. So the people putting stuff on YouTube brigade that we've met through the last few years of going to these events and meeting with people who do disclosure content online and blah, blah, blah. A lot of our good friends who are close by. Some of our friends are literally in other countries and all around the world, so we can't get everybody. But as the years roll by and we do this more and the world blossoms, we're going to have more opportunities and like a whole year of planning time for people who are like yourself, like literally to fly all the way out here and come do and speak at ours next year and so on. So we called it the Great Family of Light Gathering because it's like a command and a statement and an invitation all in one. And it's really nice because the great family of light, pretty much anyone who resonates with being of the light, bringing light to the world, you know, surrounding themselves with light in a loving, caring, happy way, however it is that you do it, not specifying into anything specific. If you have a soul and you're happy, like, come to the event and have a good time. And we wanted to also make a place where the people who watch us on social media and for years have been watching us, some of us who feel like they know us on an intense level, but we don't know you as much at all. And we don't know your stories. We don't know your strengths. We don't know what we can learn from you too. Like, I'm only 27 years old. This whole pursuit was also like, feed me more. Like, I want to know your stories. I want to hear more. I want to learn more. I'm trying to understand the world and really what's going on, because I'm so sick of getting manipulated. And so these meetups and so on have been so liberating for me to go do and then help support and make. And then now I have it all on my own shoulders. Me and my husband Jace are now hosting it and allowing all these YouTuber friends of ours to make amazing content, have amazing audiences that participate every week, letting them all gather physically into a space together to sit together and do sound healing ceremonies, doing yoga ceremony or yoga practice, and speakers, and eating together and dancing together and talking together and interacting after this whole quarantine thing that we all experienced. A lot of people haven't even done something like this yet for over a year. Some people even over like 2 years now. It's getting to that point. And we really also, during this event and this huge shift that we experienced, we knew that there was a party after. Like, we knew that we were going to be moving into a party life. Like, there was going to be more fun to have and be had amongst people who you really love and care about. You've sorted out yourself out enough that you know who you like to be around, and that benefits everybody. But physically doing that and getting around not only helps liberate your soul and your heart and your heart chakra, but it also helps regain memory and regain parts of yourself that are just scattered amongst all of us. We have all these puzzle pieces, it seems like, of memory and of abilities. And the more that we can come together and feel how we feel as a group, at least even over 3 days together, that memory of being in that resonance together, it never goes away. That feeling, you're like, this is what it's supposed to feel like. I feel this now, and I've experienced this, and I'm now creating events to keep giving this feeling to people, because it's the medicine. The medicine is so easy. The medicine is just gathering with people who resonate with you in interests and in beliefs. And my friends who also present other topics like secret space program stuff, chi related health and your whole bodies and meridians, and tarot and astrology and all of these other areas and avenues. A lot of them still come to me. They're like, what is the space weather today? And I give them that. But that's all they can really take, because that's not their job. They take that and they're like, okay, good. And then they go do their job, and I support them while they do their job. And so I'm just asking everyone to come in, remind us all what your jobs are and what you've learned from your jobs, and then let's all have some food and then dance together, because we've all been working really hard, and we're a family, and we're, just because some of us aren't on YouTube doesn't mean that they are doing an incredible amount of work for the collective. Like,
Right.
we get it. And I admire people like that who took it in another direction. Like, I took all of the conflict that I was seeing in the world and was like, I'm going to come back against it with my voice and with my light codes and my physical body, like through the internet, through the black mirror that's messing with everyone. I'm going to push something in there too, because we might as well. Like, you want to play? Like, here you go. Like, here's a 3-hour live stream of me talking about all the infinite universal blah, blah, blah that comes to me throughout the week. And here you go. Like, here's a package of that. And you can choose what you want to eat. You get more variety of what you're eating from your content throughout the day, and leveling up through that. And I want to physically meet the people who've been eating my content, if you know what I mean, and look them in the eyes and be like, okay, what have you been doing? Like, I need to know what you're up to. Don't put it all on my shoulders as well, because that happens too, where they'll put you on some pedestal or whatever. Like, you're supposed to be doing all the work. Like, why aren't you doing more? And blah, blah, blah. And you're like, whoa, 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 buddy. Like, what have you been doing? I've only been on this planet. I've been on this planet half the rotations you've been. Where's your progress? Like, give me some money, like help me, like what's going on, you know what I mean? Like, let's work together. I would love some property, I could do tests, I could have my own Schumann resonance thing if I owned a piece of property, but let's get it going, like let's collaborate, like we have strengths all over the family, like you don't have to be bloodline anymore, like if your bloodline can't help you, good thing there's all these other random souls that have shot in at other times and places, but somehow understand exactly how you think and will have the same goals about liberating humanity. And it's amazing. So we're having that event, and basically that's the delivery of what is going to be happening there from my perspective. And my husband makes fun of me because I get a little bit woo woo about it. And he's like, we need to stay grounded too. It's a real grounded event. We're serious. Like, this is important. And I'm like, I know, like, this is how I feel about it. And I want people who feel that way to come. Like, I'm ready. Like, bring it on. Everyone needs to be wearing muumuus and crystals, and let's have a good time and party. And that's how what I'm bringing to the party. And my husband has a channel, Cosmic Origins. He's going to be on here to talk
Smart.
about the spiritual side of cryptocurrency and stuff too, and that's been his calling. And that's another thing that's coming into this event, and we're collaborating the new financial system with the old, and kind of experimenting and playing in that space, because again, we don't have as much to lose as some people's financial, buildings that they've made over 60 years and all of this, like on earth, like we're just just flying by the seat of our pants because we didn't decide to anchor in and take money from the matrix. We decided we were going to make our own thing and just get supported however we can. And there's just a different flavor of person when it comes to that. So like, it's been interesting to traverse all the types of people and their belief systems and not step on anyone's toes, but also not play in those realms anymore. And there's more variety of us to enjoy ways of life. And coming to the conferences like this, you get to see how other people live too, and ask them questions like, how did you manifest a house? How did you?
Exactly.
And people need people to take over their rent, and people need people to buy their cars, and people need people for help all over the place. Like, there's so many freebies that happen, and handouts and exchanges that happen for your timelines when you go to these events. Like, people you wouldn't even expect would be giving you anything, all of a sudden calling you up like 2 weeks after an event being like, hey, can you have my RV? Like, things like that happen all the time. So I'm excited for that aspect too.
Yeah, it's really, yeah. I mean, I was talking, this has come up a number of times in the last day or two about creating new templates for, a lot of people are putting out projects right now that are going to
Yeah.
be like an imprint template of what I believe New Earth living will be like in the future. And we're actually grounding that now and starting to implement that and enjoy it. And I can feel your excitement because now I'm
I know.
you're
I'm
passionate.
so excited. I'm just like, yeah, I can't wait to be the one that's like, okay, we made this. What is it going to do? Like, I want to see it. It's like I've made a little toy, and I'm like, go and see what it does. And I can't wait to learn from that and not have the guilt of needing to perform to anyone else's expectations and trying to make something amazing for someone else's vision, which is what we've been mostly doing, is finding people with the vision right at the perfect time that they need help, helping them make their vision the best that we can, and just, learning from that. But now it's like, here you go. It's our vision now, and people are helping us make our vision. And it's so cool to be on the other side of it. And I have a strength of being the person that sits at the front with like a card that says like 10 minutes left. That is my perfect place in a conference environment. And I learned that at the last one we helped at. So I'm just going to sit up there and I'm excited. Like, perfect for my set of skills and level of like social skills as well. Because people are intense and
Mhm.
people are powerful. And when they come to an event and they want to engage with you, you're like, oh, like here they come. Like they've been charging up all year. And I've been just like frying by doing live streams twice a week. And the amount of energy you need to do a live stream and like what happens after because if everyone's thinking about you and like in the astral plane and you're doing all this stuff, like you take on a lot and
Well,
people
my
will
truth
learn.
for you, I don't often do live streams. I do pre-records specifically because of that reason. And with this World Unity Week event, I have learned very quickly what a live stream does to you.
Yes,
And
it takes
after,
like training.
yeah, yeah, and I didn't do that training prior to. After
You're
12
gonna do
hours, I
great.
was fried. Oh no, for next time. I need
It's
to do,
yeah,
yeah. So
I'm not surprised.
let's as we wrap up, where can people come if they are in, if they are accessible to the Sedona region?
Yes.
Um, where can they buy tickets? And also if they are all around the world and they still want to access the good vibes and the content, how can they access that? And if you can let us know, and I'll also put that in the description and in the comment section as well.
Okay. Yes, we have familyoflight.info is the website for this event. We have, like she said, live stream as well, live stream tickets, which is just going to be a Zoom call that we're all going to be in the front row of the conference. So it's not going to be super fancy. And then we're going to have the recording for us. And like I said, it's just me and my husband doing this for the first time. So we are doing really well, and we have a lot of really solid support in our community, and that's why this is going so well. And we've just been taking it day by day. So really excited, and we're going to fill all those chairs, and everyone's going to sit with me in the audience, and we're going to let these beings like shine their light, which they a lot of them do shine on stage. There's ones amongst us that shine on stage, and we feel their brightness. We feel their upliftment and get so much out of that just from mirroring their energy because they are you. Like there's another aspect to you who's really good at making people laugh and talking about these amazing spiritual or out of worldly concepts and also like deep body knowledge, which we're also getting, and we're going out and in and up into the mind, and it's going to be great. We're getting a good balance. And so go to familyoflight.info to get that. There's also an Instagram, familyoflight.info, if you want to follow that. There's also a Facebook group that you can go and follow as well if you're Facebook people. It's called the Great Family of Light Gathering, and please follow the group. The event page is in that group too. But yeah, if you just want to go straight to that website, that's the easiest way. And get your mail, our email list at least on there if you want more details and maybe you can't come this year, too short notice, whatever. We're going to do it again next year. So if you've never been to Sedona, I would recommend if you need some type of vehicle, to like encourage you, like, okay, make it worth my while. I need something to do there. If you're that type of person, we want to continue making this portal for everyone to just hop in and have a good time and then stay as long as you like because there's so much to do here. Like just behind me is a photograph of one of the most prominent vortexes and spaceports and like amazing things happening here, and this is called Cathedral Rock. And I did a walkabout a month ago where I took people up these mountains, and that was my little retreat. We went up all these mountains and everything, and I got all the details and downloads and influences about what this conference we're going to do is going to bring. And a lot of people I want come to Sedona because they want to interact with ET life, and they want to interact with even something magical, something spiritual. They want it here. They come here with that intention, which is pretty rare. I mean, there's few places on earth that is that intention. Even the most dull tourist you could think of comes here and says the word vortex for the first time in their lives, and it's just normal colloquial term. You're like, okay. And crystals, they just vortexes and crystals, and that's what is in the program here. It's just a different place, and it's meant for this stuff. And there's gatherings happening all throughout the town on that weekend too of people like us all different flavors, and they're all coming into town and gathering during this time. So
Amazing.
it's pretty cool. We're really excited, and I can't wait to see how much fun people are going to have, because I certainly am just going to enjoy the crap out of it. Like, I'm so excited.
I'm looking forward to tuning in myself, and I highly encourage everyone to go to that website and connect and have a look around and see if it's for you, and
Yeah.
you know, even if it is,
Arizona family
yeah,
and surrounding states, Arizona and surrounding states. Oh, by the way, they're closing down the camping, the public camping. We have to check because they're burning fires in those areas all of a sudden. The nature reserve camping areas. Oh no, you can't camp here all of a sudden. Like, there's fires, and we were like, okay. So they're maybe too many woke people are coming to town, and they're like, okay, we need to like smoke them out a little bit, because that's where a lot of people will stay, is they stay just outside of town and they park and camp for free under the stars in the desert. Like, it's rough in it, especially in hot summer months, but
Mm,
that was an option for some people. So we're going to have to tell people right away, like, hey, all you campers out there, you might not be able to,
mm.
your tent might burn down. Like, I don't know. We're gonna check it out tomorrow. But the drama is happening in and around the portal here for anticipating July
Right.
Cancer season. And then, oh man, Leo season after that. This is gonna be a Leo season event. Oh, didn't think about
It gets
that.
it gets
Makes
hot
sense.
stuff in Leo season, so yeah, it's the perfect
Yes.
time.
It's
Well,
a very divine masculine time. The sun is going to be very much a part of the family of light gathering.
sure is.
Yeah.
Alexis, I can't thank you enough. This has just been such a privilege
Thank
to
you.
sit down and talk with you amongst so many topics. Thank you everyone for watching. Just to recap, please go and connect with Alexis's work from Ascension Diaries. Check out the Family of Light Gathering. I will be having Jace from Cosmic Origins on at the same time tomorrow, so please stay tuned to see his presentation. I'm really looking forward to that. But let's do this again
Yeah.
sometime. I always enjoy it. It's been a long while since we've been able to sit down and do a recording like this. So just massive gratitude for all you have done, all your work, all you continue to do for humanity. It is very, very much appreciated. So thank you.
Well, I'll keep doing it just for you, even, because I appreciate all the nice things that you said. It really helps a lot, because it's always nice to get the encouragement that you're not just spinning and embarrassing yourself with something. So it's like, okay, thankfully this is, thank you for encouraging me. I appreciate your love.
Always, always. And I get it, especially in these times. It's so energetically exhausting, that sometimes we just need that cheerleader who genuinely goes, just keep going, one more step.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you've got amazing support around you. So congratulations on this up and coming
Thank
event.
you.
And just completely in awe to stand by and be a witness to the magic that you're going to weave for all those souls and how it will impact the
Yeah.
greater collective consciousness. So thank you once again, Alexis. Thank you everyone for watching, and check out her stuff, and and stay cool during the hot seasons over there, the summer seasons. All right.
Yes.
Thank you everyone, and signing off.
Thank you.